Speaker, it gives me a lot of pleasure to rise and speak this afternoon on the food bill, which at first glance looks like a fairly technical bill, but nevertheless is one which has very important flow-on effects into other areas of legislation. And it was very good to see the Minister get up and speak and sounding so confident. I mean, this is an area that I think she feels very secure in. Bit of a change from earlier in the week, but nice to see her looking so positive and secure on this Thursday afternoon after what it has to be fair, has to be said, was been a bit of a rough week for the Minister. It's nice to speak after the previous speaker, Mr Ardern, as well. A good chair of a good committee, and nice to hear that he was talking about an open and inclusive process, bipartisan process, I'm sure. I know that one of the members opposite, Sandra Gowdy, is actually on that committee. She could actually learn a thing or two from Mr Ardern. I think she's had a few problems on her select committee lately. A few walkouts from opposition MPs due to the totally partisan, unfair, opaque system that she's been running in that committee. So maybe those two members could sit down over a wine tonight and just have a discussion about their relative positions on this. But, Mr Speaker, this bill provides a regulatory framework to enable businesses to take primary responsibility for the sale of safe and suitable food. Food businesses will be regulated relative to the degree of risk of the food selling activity that they are engaged in actually poses. A number of risk management tools are included in this. Food control plans for high-risk businesses such as restaurants, national programs for medium to low-risk businesses such as horticulture producers, food handler guidance and educational information for low-risk operators such as those engaged in fundraising activities, the cake stalls, the sausage sizzles that I know probably every member in this House has been engaged in, and monitoring programs as well set by regulation to impose measures that in specific circumstances for determining the safety and suitability of food. The bill provides certainty for food businesses in terms of their obligations under the law and how activities will be regulated. It introduces specific requirements for imported food. All persons importing food will have a duty to ensure it meets the same standards as domestically produced food, and every consignment of food imported into New Zealand requires a registered importer. Importantly, this bill maintains the role of government as the principal regulator. I think that's very important that we note that, and retains a local government role in the regulation of food premises. It has modernised penalty provisions. The current provisions are out of date and really inadequate for 2010 and beyond, and so that's an improvement, and it sets out exactly what the base statutory requirements will be for each type of food and trading activity. Mr Speaker, basically what it does is it takes a whole range of things which have been in different pieces of legislation, tidies them up and brings them into one piece so that things are clear and understandable for those people who are operating within the framework of this bill. And Labour is absolutely supportive of this, as our previous speakers have indicated, because of course this was a process that Labour actually initiated when we were in government, which is no doubt why the Minister actually feels so secure about it. It's a good, robust, solid process started by the Labour government, unlike some of the dodgier, more interesting things that the Minister has initiated under the national government. I think Labour actually was proactive in recognising the shortfalls of the existing food regulations. Back in 2003, we initiated a domestic food review that revealed a number of shortfalls related to the complexity of the regulations and the difficulty with enforcement. And while most food is controlled under the Food Act, other food is regulated under the Animal Products Act 1999, the Wine Act 2003, and the Agricultural and Compounds and Veterinary Medicines Act 1997. So we have a whole host of regulations under those acts as well. Bringing everything into alignment under this one act makes a lot of sense. We also have the situation where a number of food premises are covered by the Food Hygiene Regulations 1974 and inspected by territorial authorities, but some businesses are exempt from this process because they have opted out and shifted into a voluntary food program. These operators, more often than not, supermarkets and manufacturers, they'll actually probably be ahead of the game here. They'll be prepared for this bill when it is enacted. These food safety programs are administered by public health units and the NZFSA. And then again, bringing everything under alignment under the one bill makes a lot of sense. There has been a lot of inconsistency, duplication and complexity, and many operators apparently have been unaware that the Food Act 1981 even existed, let alone knowing who administered it. And if I can just reflect on a news story that came out of Palmerston North in the last few days, one of those people who may have been struggling with food regulations is a character known as the Naked Pie Man. He's a well-known celebrity in Palmerston North. He owns the Pie and Smoke Shop, which is just up the road from Bootleggers, which is a popular student establishment. Actually, the Naked Pie Man has been in Palmerston North for a number of years. In fact, so long that I can remember back to my student days at Massey University. I have been a customer of the Naked Pie Man. You know, that 2 o'clock, 3 a.m. pie, just before you jump in the taxi and head home. It's a nice alternative to a kebab, actually. But he's come into a bit of strife. In the last few days. He was the only operator in Palmerston North to receive a D grading for his food handling service. And apparently this all came down to a few lost bits of paperwork and a few hiccups in the process that he didn't quite understand. So hopefully this piece of legislation will actually sort of make things a little bit more streamlined for our Naked Pie Man, and he'll be able to get his rating back up to something a little bit more respectable. To be fair, he's going to display that D. He's going to have to display that D. I don't think the students will be put off that much, actually, to be honest. I don't know that his business is going to suffer too much. But it's buyer beware, and everyone who walks into his shop will know that he's got that D rating. But I'm quite sure that a good streamlined piece of legislation like this will assist in getting him back on track. But it is important that we have food safety regulations and food handling regulations, because we do know that there are a massive number of cases of intestinal illness each year, estimated at about 18,000 cases every year. 1,000 of those required hospitalisation. Which is not bad, out of 18,000. I suspect a few more probably required people to go to the GP. But what we do know is an awful lot of them actually cause people to need a few days off work. And in fact, workplace absenteeism is estimated at about $86 million a year due to illnesses relating to poor food hygiene. Now, a lot of those people will have had a couple of days off. The boss won't have minded too much, and there would have been no requirement for a medical certificate or anything like that. But now, thanks to the minister in charge of this bill, who also happens to be the Minister of Labour, what we're going to see is all these poor people who have caught a bit of a tummy bug are now going to be sent along to the doctor. They're going to clog up the doctors, so all the people who have actually got actual genuine problems that actually could be fixed by the doctor are going to have to go and see the doctor and get their medical certificate. So that's going to slow the process down. So hopefully this piece of legislation, Minister, will stop so many people needing so many days off work, and it will stop them having to go to the doctor and get that medical certificate, and it won't be clogging up our systems whatsoever. But I do have a concern, and that is, what if you get one of these illnesses in your first 90 days at a new job? Does that mean that you might be out on your ear without any recourse whatsoever, just because you got a little bit sick and you had to have a few days off? Does that mean you're out the door with no recourse whatsoever? So again, I think a very important bill. It's so appropriate that Kate Wilkinson is in charge of this bill, because if it achieves its outcomes, in charge, I mean, a loose term to say that she's in charge, but if it achieves its outcomes, it may actually stop a lot of the problems that she has introduced to the workforce in New Zealand through some of the other work that she's been doing in the beginning. I am talking about the food bill, Ms. Gowdy, because I think it's such an important bill. It hopefully will stop people getting ill, and that's going to be such an important part of keeping people at work, so we can keep them productive and we won't lose that $86 million a year in productivity. Mr. Speaker, this is a good bill. It's an excellent bill because it was started under a Labor process. Labor is pleased to see it go to Select Committee, where people will have the chance to have their say on it, and we look forward to its progress through the House.